Hi everybody, and welcome to Module 5, Lesson 12. Today we're talking about parts of a whole, which are fractions, but we're also talking about how to look at fractions with a number bond. So if you don't remember what a number bond looks like, number bonds start out here. This top circle is going to be the whole, and then down here is how we're going to break it into our parts. So if we were doing addition, and we wanted to break that 10 into parts, you could do it a number of ways. You could do it with 9 and 1, because if you're adding those, 9 plus 1 would be the way to make 10. So when we're looking at number bonds with fractions, we're looking at the whole, which is going to be, your whole is going to go up here, and that's going to be a 1. And we're going to talk a little bit about more what that one represents, and then your two spokes will be the ways that you made one. So if this is our whole right here, and we're doing it with halves, we would say that, if we wanted to do it this way, we could say we have one whole. So here we have a half. So part of our whole is going to be a half. And then over here is what else we would do to make that whole. So our whole is not completed up here yet. We need to add another half to it. So 1/2 plus 1/2 is going to make a whole. Make sure I get that whole thing in the shot. If you're adding fractions and then denominators are the same, you don't change the denominators. They stay the same no matter what. So that would be 2 over like that. But when you add fractions, you do add the numerators if the denominators are the same. So 1 plus 1 here would be 2. So, oops, sorry, you can't see that. So when I add these two together, I get 2 over 2, and that is the same, as you can tell, as one whole, because 2 halves make one whole. We don't usually write a fraction 2 over 2. We would write this as it equals one whole. When you have the same numerator and then the same denominator, it does make one whole. So we're going to try that again with a different fraction. Probably going to make it a little smaller too, so you can see it on the board. So I'm going to do one whole at the top, and then down here I'm going to do my 2 spokes for my 2 parts. All right, that looks a little bit better. So I'm going to take the halves out of here so you don't worry about those. So I'm going to do my half. Then I'm going to do 1/5 this time. So if I have 1/5 there, I'm going to put 1/5 in this spoke. But now I need to figure out what goes here. How many more pieces do I need to make a whole? So I'm going to use my fraction tiles for this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure they're all line up. So if you look at those together, you can see that all of those fifths together equal the same as one whole. So I'm going to take the 1/5 out that we already talked about and count. We have 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. So when I'm doing my whole like this, I have 1/5 plus 4/5 is going to equal a whole. If I added these two together, my denominator would stay the same. We don't change this number when we're adding fractions. If they have a like denominator, we keep that the same, and then we just add the numerators together. So 1 plus 4 would equal 5. So we don't say things are 5/5. That would equal one whole. Okay, so we're going to do it with another one. I'm going to keep my one whole because that's really what we're comparing these to. What makes a whole? How do we divide the whole up? So if I have one whole up here, I'm going to do 1/3 this time. So I'm going to change it up a little bit like this. I'm going to change my board around, see if that helps a little bit too. So we're looking to make one whole. Then we're going to divide it up like this. So this one whole, we have 1/3 here. So 1/3. Oops, I didn't draw my circles. We'll do that right now. Oh, cool. This works great. Just had to turn my board. So now I need to see what else will fit here. So I have 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. So that does make one whole. We already used 1, so I'm going to take that one out of the way. So what was left to make my whole? 1/3, 2/3. Like that. So when I want to add them together to make sure that I'm right, the denominator, if it's the same, does not change when you're adding fractions. So if I'm going to add those across, the denominator stays the same, but I can add the numerator. So if I put 3 up here and I put this one back, I see that 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3 equals 1 whole. So that 3/3 is like saying it's 1 whole. When the numerator and the denominator are the same, that is the same as saying 1 whole. We're going to do one more example for today's lesson. Gonna leave my whole up there so we can compare it. And then we're going to come over to, let's do some fourths. All right, so this time I'm going to do it a little differently. This time I'm going to say I have 2/4. So I'm going to line those up. So I'm going to start with my number bond. So there's my 1. And I'm going to split up my number bond into my 2 parts. Sometimes you could do number bonds into more parts too, but right now we're just doing 2. So for the first part, I have 1/4, 2/4. I have 2/4. That does not equal the same as a whole. So what I need to do next is I need to figure out what else I would need to add to that. So I'm actually going to put the other ones on there so they line up. Make sure everything lines up. Okay, and these are the 2 that I started out with. So what do I need to make my whole? I need 1/4, 2/4. In order to make a whole, I need 2 more fourths. When I add them together down here, the denominator when you're adding fractions stays the same. So that stays the 4. Then I'm going to add my numerators, 2 plus 2, which will also equal 4. And 4/4 is the same as saying 1 whole. So I hope you've enjoyed your fraction lesson for today. If you want to do the worksheet, it's down below. If you want to answer the question at the end, it's also there as well. Have a great day.